doing it. You supposed to be happy you sitting there with Kid L. Why you mad?
Four, 3, 2, 1. James Mosley is in the building. How you doing, man?
I'm so happy to be here,
bro.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was just saying before you got on, you're the first person that's been on this couch that I actually knew from a long time ago. I met you probably like 2011, 2012. We were shooting music videos with an artist named Bobber Harry. It was just crazy. We were just like, I would just shoot them. You would be there. I don't even know why you were there. It didn't really make any sense because I don't realize you were a rap fan or anything like that. But we clicked like right away, right when we met each other.
Yeah, no, totally. And you like, I think first of all, you were very talented at a young age. You had like the best camera we ever had. I think shooting us. Our talent could have complemented that a little bit better, but I think, yeah.
No, you guys used to always, hype me up like you got it. What's going on? You got the talent, the skill, and all that stuff. But we were shooting music videos together. You would be in them. We'd talk. We'd hang out. It was really, really cool. Then I don't know what happened. Like, I think I kind of like sidetracked from it, but then I started watching your page around 2018, 19 Instagram. I found you, and I'm just seeing that you're working for productions, like you're working for Nickelodeon, like you're doing short films and all these crazy graphic CGI things. And I'm like, what is James doing? Like, I don't remember you doing any of this stuff in 2012. Let's walk people through your journey, man. First of all, where are you from?
So I'm from Detroit, Michigan. So it already feels like a great thing that I'm here, like talking to you on a Detroit podcast, like yours.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised there. But one thing you probably didn't know is that I've always drawn though as a kid, and I was always into like cartoons as a kid. I remember staying at home like on days off and just sitting in front of like the camera and like drawing my own characters for shows. And I was even drawing on the walls. Like my mom was back there. She remember I used to draw scenes on the walls and get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
I was born in Detroit doing that stuff. Like
okay, so even before I met you, you were already like into drawing and everything like that.
Yeah,
so it's part of like who you were already. I just didn't see it at that time.
Yeah.
When did you realize you had the knack for drawing? Can you pull that microphone in a little bit?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Just drag it in.
Let me know if I'm doing it right.
You're gonna just pull it towards you?
I'm sure somebody in the comments going to be like, pause, but... Is this it?
Well, that Nick's going to have to adjust it for you real quick. So we're talking about when you realized you had a knack for drawing.
Yeah, so when I was 16 and I was, out in Rochester Hills, still before I met you, I was like very into basketball. And I thought that I was going to be like in the NBA, and I thought I was going to be doing all of these incredible things, but I kept getting cut at Rochester Adams. And back then it was a pain point for me, but then my stepfather, he took me on a trip to Walt Disney World. And then and it was the first time I'd ever been to Florida. It was the first time I'd ever been just really kind of like out into a resort sort of thing. And so at that point, I remember like just walking around Walt Disney World alone. Like I think I had left my mom and my stepdad, and I was thinking to myself, like, what am I going to do like with my life? Because obviously basketball wasn't going to be like a catalyst in life for me. And so I was thinking, well, I like to draw. And what would it be like if I was Walt Disney walking around like these physical manifestations of my vision? And I just I had a feeling of euphoria at that point. And then I was thinking, and then I think at the same time, the Boondocks was getting popular, and I was kind of getting into that, and Aaron McGruder. And I was just thinking, okay, I need to figure out a way like to sort of like try to be bigger than life in this area. And when I got back from that trip, I was on fire. And that's when I started drawing comics for the school newspaper at Rochester Adams. And then I started my own YouTube channel. And that's when I started making all of those animated shorts and sending them out to my friends, and built a voice record studio in my closet. And I was just kind of like trying to pump these shorts out as fast as I could with my friends.
So when you started putting them on YouTube and everything, were you seeing like a response from people that were more than just your friends, like audiences and just people you never met in your life?
Yeah. But if you asked James at 16 years old, he would have said like it wasn't popping like that. But, in hindsight, at this age, yeah, that I did see some traction more than I expected to at the time.
What was your first process in taking it to a professional level, or was Nickelodeon's internship your first thing where you entered as far as getting a career, and how did you even apply for it and get to be a part of that?
Yeah, that's a good question for anybody who's listening too. So, fast forward years, like I was making shorts and then I moved to California and everything like that. And I got my degree at Santa Barbara City and stuff. And maybe we'll circle back on that later. But I had already been like applying to like studios for internships, and I was just getting turned down left and right, which is a part of the process with anything you're trying to do. But eventually, this woman that came to my college at Cal State Fullerton from Nickelodeon, she was just talking about and stressing like how you need to apply early, and you need to be like right on the ball. As soon as like you see that opportunity has opened, apply for it. I did that, and then I ended up getting an internship at Nickelodeon.
Wow.
And the process for that was I think I was living on campus at the time, and you couldn't stay on campus during summer, so I had to go live with my dad in Kansas City, Missouri for the summer. So I got a call while I was out there, and I interviewed on the phone at first, and then I interviewed over Zoom. It went terrible, but there was one person there that believed in me, and they really vouched for me. And I ended up getting the offer for Nickelodeon.
Very cool, man.
In 2014.
You said you wanted to kind of talk about the process of going to school in Santa Barbara. Well, so what's that experience like?
Yeah, it was interesting because so I went to Santa Barbara City College, and I got my associates in animation and gaming, but it was different for me because, like I told you, like I was still making shorts, and I was hell bent on getting famous for making these shorts. It didn't really pan out, but I was hell bent on that. But because I was working every day, I was steps ahead of people in class because I was working in these softwares making films, and I wasn't just doing assignments. So I was just passing through my classes like nonstop, and I would literally just get my work done just to work on my own stuff.
Yeah. Were you using like Flash at the time or something?
That's a good, man. You know your softwares, huh?
Yeah, I used to use Flash too. Yeah, when it was IMAX and all that stuff, I learned the keyframing and all that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I that was the first thing I was making shorts on, Adobe Flash.
Yeah, it's a fire program to start off with, right?
To start off with,
yeah.
But then I started using Maya 3D, and I was like passing those classes too.
So you were pretty much learning these basic softwares, advancing to stuff that they're using in Hollywood, which was like Maya and all that stuff. And I tried Maya; it was impossible. That's when I gave up. That's when I gave up on like 3D stuff. I was watching YouTube tutorials. I got a plane to fly in the air and crash into my house, which was cool.
That's cool.
But it's a very advanced program. Like unless you're seriously gonna get into it, it's kind of like something you can't just learn. Not an easy learning curve, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. And if you there's so many different departments in this one program, right? Like there's modeling, there's texturing, and then when you get into the software and you're trying to do all of these things as one person, you start to realize why they break the jobs up in the industry. Why it should be one department doing this, one department doing that.
Right. I remember there was a guy who created something, some type of 3D world where the world gets invaded or something, and he posted it on YouTube, generated like millions and millions of views. And I think Steven Spielberg ended up picking him up. I don't remember how it happened exactly, but he just spent all of his time dedicated to creating this small production using Maya, uploaded it to the internet, and then a Hollywood company ended up just picking him up. And he didn't have a degree, he didn't have anything. He just was focused on creating this world. But isn't it insane how at that time we're talking about where if you did put something crazy enough on YouTube, there's a chance you could find a career. If you put enough portfolio on YouTube, you could find a career. Yeah,
that's the new time that we're in, which is I think is good because it creates a lot of opportunities for people who probably wouldn't get a lot of shine, right? And there's a lot of roadblocks.
So when you're getting your job, do they actually consider that as portfolio?
It depends on what you're applying for, of course. Like, if you say you're an animator and you want to get on a show, like you want to have like a reel of some sort along with a resume, obviously, but they're more so looking at like the reel in your work. If you're somebody like me on the production track though, then it's more about like your resume.
What do you mean when you say resume? Like what credentials are you talking about?
Just literally like what show, like if you just want to be like a producer or a PA or something like that, then they just need to know which shows you worked on, some of the tasks you performed, like are you good at file organization, are you good at scheduling and stuff like that.
Really?
You know? Yeah, I know. So that's why I love being on this podcast, you know, talking about these things that people wouldn't know, because I didn't even know production was a job until I got an internship at Nickelodeon and what that entailed, you know.
Talk about that process of, was there anything in the Santa Barbara area that you wanted to talk about a little bit more, or was it just kind of you were just acing everything and just sliding through?
Oh yeah, no, just that. I mean, there's a lot of great parties back then, but that's I'm okay. I don't need to talk about that.
You were partying, man?
Yes, I was partying.
Were you getting down?
I was partying, but I was very disciplined because I was like, you know, I told you I wanted to be famous. I wanted to make a viral short, so I would literally go to parties. And I'd be back in my house with my dad, like animator, like at 3 a.m.
Wow.
after partying.
Because you were so passionate about it, right?
Yeah, I had a lot of fire back then. I'm a little old now, though.
We're still young, man.
Thanks.
We're still young.
Like
so talk about the process of going from school to, you know, you did the, you're trying to apply for all these jobs, trying to get into some network, and then Nickelodeon picks you up. What's the starting days like for you working at Nickelodeon?
Oh, yeah. So when I was an intern, it was a good time because it was the perfect environment for you to be able to network, right? Like you didn't have a lot of tasks. Like you had very like rudimentary tasks, and you could just like move a file here and there for somebody or make copies and stuff like that. But you had a lot of time to meet with people in the studio and stuff. So I did a lot of networking. And I did learn a lot still, like seeing people on the production that I was on do their jobs. So that part of my career was a golden time, I think, in terms of like less stress, more time to like cultivate relationships.
Is that the type of environment they try to purposely build, or is it just a product of what it is?
You know what? That's a good question. But I think this particular testimony is a Nickelodeon thing. Cool. They're big on like Nick Turn classes. They call them Nick Turns and stuff, and they cultivate the opportunity for interns to talk to people. Like you even had I had my boss telling me like how many interviews you got or like little informationals you got with people around the studio. They would like push interns to do that. So I think that's just the culture at Nickelodeon from what I know, which is great.
Did you actually get to walk into the Nickelodeon building thing? Like the one that we all see on the TV, like Nickelodeon?
Which one?
You know how just like literally like, you know, from back in the day where they used to show the Nickelodeon studios in the background. Like did you actually get to go on that thing?
I don't want to
Oh, you can't tell that?
I can't tell if you're talking about in Florida or something, but
Yeah.
I feel like it is that same building though.
Yeah.
Like, so at Nickelodeon, I can't talk about it. At Nickelodeon, it's like they have this old building, but now they got like this new Hollywood building that they throw parties and stuff at. But I think it is the same like building though. I just don't know if I'm like leading you astray though.
No, it's the new one for sure because they renovated and changed it.
Yeah.
But like there used to be like the old one obviously, but just there's a Nickelodeon building you have to actually walk inside of, right?
Yeah.
That's sick, bro.
So it's literally right next to each other. Yeah.
So you're networking inside of there, you're doing these jobs, you're interning. Did anything transpire that added credit to your name as far as production was concerned during the Nickelodeon era?
I mean, I got a lot of credit just being there and still being in college, because people was trying to get internships. I don't think I got credit like on a show, like as an intern or anything.
Did you get to run any of the stars or anything?
You know what? I saw, oh gosh, this is terrible. Like, please don't make fun of it. What's his name who plays Steve Urkel?
Jaleel White.
Yeah, we should know. I should know that Jaleel White.
Yeah.
I saw him like reading for something one time. I walked right by him, like, and he was like just sitting down. Like, he looked very focused, and I didn't say anything to him.
That's cool.
I remember I saw him, and then if I think of anybody else, I'll let you know.
Oh, for sure.
That's who.
So you're going through Nickelodeon. What transpires next? Like, what's the next big phase of your career?
So it's still, so the next big phase is still a little bit close to being an intern because I became a PA. I don't even know if this is okay to say, but I became a PA before I could even graduate. Like, and so I was like, I guess they liked me. They liked my work ethic. The producer really we seemed aligned on a lot of things, and I got the opportunity to work like as a PA, part-time PA, before I could even graduate. And so I ended up like finishing the show, and it was on Dora and Friends, and I ended up finishing that, and I had to go back to school and finish up my semester. And I don't know how most people feel about this, but for me to be working an industry job and then have to go back to college, I felt like I got demoted. I was just like, what am I doing here? I've already worked in the industry.
Yeah, when I made the decision to drop out of high school, I remember I had 0 credits and I was like in 11th grade. Mm-hmm. And my cousin made a good point. He's like, what the hell is the point of this guy getting a diploma when he's going into the entertainment industry? He's like, they damn near never look at your high school diploma or anything that has to do with that. They look at what your portfolio is, if you're a good personality, what you can produce, what you can create. Yeah. So like for you, did you continue school after that, or did you realize like, well, this is kind of pointless?
It's hilarious that you asked that, because I was majoring in entertainment arts and animation, right? Mm-hmm. But in order for me to graduate, I would need to go another year or two. And at that point, I remember talking to one of the professors at school about how I was already working at Nickelodeon. It looked like I had a bright career ahead of me. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to actually do the animation and stuff? And I was like, no, not really. I remember him kind of like, because he was my teacher. He was like, yeah, because you ain't really that good.
Really?
He said it. No, he said it in a nice way, like, or kind of alluded to it. Because I was like, I feel like I'd be better as a producer, you know, overseeing different departments and stuff like that. And he kind of like gave it a nod. Like, he alluded that was like a better pathway for me. Wow. And that I could be more successful that way. And whether he was thinking that or not, if he was thinking that, he was right. Because I wasn't that good of an animator. Like, if you go back and look at some of my shorts and stuff, I don't have the brain for actually drawing out life animation that well. And I think I'm much better with people than I am with a pencil. And that's something that I realized very young. So, or very young in my career.
But the productions that you were creating, even if they were these shorts and stuff, they did help you break into the door.
I think actually. You
don't think so?
But I think they helped me, like, personally, like, understand the process. Like,
so you don't think anybody who recruited you ever looked and said, like, well, he has the competence to build these productions, he spent a lot of time on them, even though they're not that great, and that's not part of it, but you're saying they just looked at your personality, who you were, and everything else besides the actual work itself?
Yeah, I got to be honest, because I'm thinking through my head. I'm like, nobody ever reached out to me and was like,
we need you?
Yeah, we need you. This guy who's making this choppy animation.
So personality and competence is a humongous part about working for these companies.
100%, you know. And I also tell you, when you know how I said earlier that my intern interview didn't go well? Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why somebody vouched for me, like, was because my internet kept going out. There was dogs barking in the back, even though I thought I had put them away. And no matter how bad things were going, I would just hop right back on the Zoom call and act like nothing ever happened, like with a positive attitude and everything. And he said that stuck out to him. He's my best friend now, but yeah, at the time we weren't friends.
So the person who recruited you ended up becoming your best friend?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was working on the production, and I interviewed with a bunch of production team members, and I wasn't in the favor of everybody in that room, but he was the person who was like, no, we need to like give this guy a chance, and he really like stuck his neck out for me.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, his name's Max Beaudry. He's like a big time writer now. Like he won an Emmy for like Muppet Babies and stuff like that recently. Man. Yeah,
very cool. Now you're moving on through the process of realizing, okay, school's not. It's kind of pointless. Did you just cut off school? You're like, all right, I'm done?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I changed my major to general studio art to get out sooner.
Okay. So you do that, and then what's the process for you career-wise? Like, how are you balancing career, school, and like, what's the next phase for you as far as your career?
Yeah, okay, so it gets pretty linear at this point, because after I finished school, immediately I went and worked on Pinky Malinky on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix right now, and I started working as a production assistant on there. Thanks to my old coordinator, Nancy Ramirez. Like she put my name out there because she was already on the show. And I ended up being a PA on that show, and then kept working just nonstop. And then I got promoted to be a coordinator on that show too. You know, and school was behind me at that point. I still kind of don't want to even think about school.
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean?
Prison.
Yeah, it feels
Straight up
like
prison.
Oh yeah, I'm done with that chapter. You understand?
Yeah.
So, but I love the schools though, just in case this go up somewhere. I love the schools that I went to.
We're not putting down schools. It just wasn't meant for us. That's
exactly. Yeah. Especially when you know what you're living for already and what you want to go for in life.
I always think about that. Like, if there is reincarnation, like you die and you have to live another life, please let me figure out how to skip school in the next life. That's the only reason I don't want to do life again. I don't want to do life again because I don't want to go through school again. That's literally the only reason. I don't want to go through the freaking 9 to 5 school process.
You definitely don't seem like I feel like I've gotten to know you more from watching you from afar in your career, and I'm like, he wasn't made for school. Like,
somebody telling you what to do, when to wake up, what you have to learn, and not knowing what the hell they're talking about. Like, what are you doing here?
Exactly.
So talk about proceeding from that point now. Pinky Malinky's on Netflix. You're getting these roles. You're getting these production roles.
Yeah.
How do you continue from that point?
Yeah. So that on Pinky Malinky, like my end date was coming up. Like, so I don't know if anybody knows, but like in animation, you get a contract, but it's all kind of like at will when you're a production person.
Yeah.
So once you finish like your season or whatever, you have to sign a new contract. Either they offer you like if they got a season pickup, then they'll offer you a new contract and see if you want to stay on. We were not getting another season for Pinky Malinky at the time. So my end date was coming up, and immediately, I think I had applied to DreamWorks. Yeah.
Wow.
And I met a nice recruiter there, and I knew my coordinator from Pinky Malinky ended up going to this show, Cleopatra in Space at DreamWorks. Her name is Sarah Kujibu. Yeah, I think she's still there. And she, I think she put my name out there for a coordinator role. So this was a step up from being a PA. And I interviewed for that, got that gig. I've worked on that show, Cleopatra in Space, I think for maybe a little under a year. I could be wrong. And then from there, I ended up, I always kind of thought about, like at that point in my life, I wanted to be the best animation producer I could be. So I'd already worked on like 2D productions. And I was like, okay, if I really want to be well-rounded, I need to work on 3D productions. So I ended up working on Santiago of the Seas back at Nickelodeon. I ended up going back to Nickelodeon. And that was a 3D production. And it was preschool. It was by Nikki Lopez. And that taught me a lot about CG. Like I got a lot of good experience like setting up processes and interfacing with overseas studios and stuff and putting things in place as a coordinator. And from there, somebody else I used to work with ended up going to Netflix, and she brought me in as a production supervisor on We Lost Our Human. And so that was a 2D production. I got a lot of good experience there. And then I'm trying. It's been a long road, man. You making me think about it.
It's good, man. People are getting to see the lineage here.
Yeah.
You had the Wiener Show. What? What's so funny?
Nothing's funny. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of pauses in the comments, but whatever. We'll deal with that. But it was Pinky Malinky, the Wiener Show, and then Cleopatra in Space is like the Egyptian like technological show. So it's and going to Netflix was special because We Lost Our Human was the first time we were doing like a huge interactive. I think that's something people can still go watch on Netflix now. But it's almost like 4 to 5 hours of animation content, and you can just pick paths
Oh, it's like a Goosebumps book from back in the day.
Yeah. But have you seen Bandersnatch? I know Nick brought up Bandersnatch. Like, okay. Yeah.
You can kind of pick where your destination based upon what you click or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And with We Lost Our Human, there's a dog and a cat, Ham and Pud, and they can you pick one of their paths and you just keep playing all the way through, and it's just all these different
Very cool
things that come out of it.
Yeah, that's how the Goosebumps books were. Do you remember reading the Goosebumps where you could like, it said if you pick yes to this answer, go to chapter 50.
Yeah,
if you pick no, go to chapter 75.
Yep,
and then
exactly.
the book would just take you around, which is like the first interactive types of books like that, which is pretty cool. But you were able to do that with Netflix?
Yeah.
So there's interactive videos on Netflix like that? I didn't know that.
There are. I think it's just ours. I think there's another one called Cat Burglar that's animated. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong on the title.
You know, you know who Cash Doll is, obviously.
Yes, I know Cash Doll because of you.
Oh, okay, great. But listen, this was the craziest thing in the world to me.
Yeah, talk to me.
I watch her page every day. My eyes are glued to the screen. She posts Merry Little Batman.
Wait, what? No, she didn't. Are you serious?
Cash Doll posted a video of her kid and her kid's friends watching Merry Little Batman. They had like a whole little event of them just all gathering together and watching it. And I was like, bro, my friend is a part of this.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind because it was already a big thing on its own. But then I'm like, what? How is this even happening? So,
oh my God.
yeah, you didn't see that video?
No.
She has like a whole little get together powwow with her son's kids are all together having fun watching the movie and stuff like that. Well, it's a movie on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So
it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon?
Yep.
And so you're a part of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you got questions,
we're gonna come back to that, but I want to just
am.
just because it's Cash Doll. I got to talk about that. But
no, dude, this is the coolest thing out of everything I've said.
Yeah.
I think so far.
No, this is all sick.
So,
I'll send you the clip of it of her them
Please.
doing it. But you're
yeah,
part
I was
of that.
associate producer on that.
It's insane, man.
It makes no sense to me. Like, I was talking to the director, Mike Roth, at the end of it because I think I was like about to leave the studio, and he was like, "James, do you realize like we were part of like Batman like iconography? Like it's just." And I was thinking, and I was like, how the hell did I get here? I was like living in Detroit as a kid, drawing. And I was like, this makes no sense that I was on a Batman animated film.
Yes.
You know, and to have like such a role to be able to facilitate things too is crazy.
It is insane, man. Like, and the response for it has been phenomenal, right?
Yeah, the response has been growing. It's like a cult following that's happening right now.
Yeah.
My mom just told me yesterday, she was like, she said some dude that was out sick, I think, told another guy to tell her, like, hey, I watched your son's movie, like, and it was like really, really good. Everybody's saying it's good too, and I think I'm not sure if everybody just lying to me and my mom.
No,
or
it's
what.
doing actually pretty damn well. It's like it's out there. It's like boom, it's out there. It's
Yeah.
like you can see it in front of you. Like people are promoting it from every which way, good response and everything. So you're rolling it as a associate producer.
Yeah, and just to clear that up too, like I know the movie's good, like, but when you see it 100,000 times, like me and my director, it's like, is it good? You don't know until people see it. So, but yeah, so I was associate producer on that movie, and my job basically was working closely with a producer above me, right? Like on making sure like we stay on budget and on schedule, and we have this big schedule called a Gantt schedule that tracks like all the different sequences and meetings that's supposed to happen for the whole thing.
Wow.
It looks like a giant map of just colors and stuff. So that's a term for people. Like Gantt schedule or overlap schedule is a big thing that producers make for all episodes or all sequences of a movie. So I worked closely with her on that, but then I was overseeing like a team of like a production manager, assistant production managers, senior assistant production managers, and artists, and helping work alongside the art directors and stuff like that. So it's a lot of process stuff that I was dealing with too. I delegated a lot to my production manager, but I had to like just facilitate certain things.
When I first was learning about animated shows and whatnot, to me, when I would think about it, I think it's like this whole complex universe and all these things have to come together, and it's the craziest process of all time.
Yeah.
And then I remember watching the South Park creators talk about creating South Park, and they were like, we had 1 week to keep doing everything, in 1 week, 7 days to figure out all the sounds, all the voices, the cardboard cutouts, animating it. And I was like, this sounds insane. Like, this doesn't sound like an organized production, but it becomes the most successful cartoon of all time. Next, Simpsons and Family Guy and whatnot. One of the longest running, most successful cartoon shows ever.
Yeah.
Is it like that, or are you guys so well positioned to just like make it how it needs to be, exactly the way it's supposed to be?
So that's a layered question. I'll give you a layered answer because, so it can be most of the times productions are crazy, right? Especially if it's a season 1 animated show or movie. Like the first few sequences in a movie might be hard to figure out and stuff, and it's tight deadlines usually. And I think tight deadlines just play a role across the board. But I think it's a little bit crazier in adult animated productions, because they kind of work off of like this like live action energy, I think, in a sense. I've never worked on an adult animation production, but I know people who have. So I think their stuff is a little bit tighter than like children and family productions. But that being said, still working in children and family productions, I can't tell you I've ever worked on a schedule that was cushy. I think. And there's multiple moving parts and different departments happening at the same time. So yeah, it can get a bit crazy, but that's how the people there love it because, or else they would become a lawyer or something. Yeah.
There's no way you can do it if you're not passionate about it. It's impossible.
No, you're going to end up quitting.
Now the Cleopatra show and everything's in the works, and you're working on that at that time. How are you moving after that?
Man, you so good at this, dude. I totally forgot about going back to that.
Oh yeah. I have my own personal like for sure things I need to know about.
Yeah.
But then I also want to help tell your story. That's kind of how I look at things. Like, I need to know about this now.
You're incredible, man. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that. This is my ADD kicking in. Like, I need to know about this. I know we have more to talk about, but I need to know about the Cash Doll Batman watching premiere party. I need to hear about this.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that.
So continuing from that point though, with the Cleopatra story, and how did you facilitate your career from that position?
Yeah. So after Cleopatra in Space, I ended up reaching out to I think I applied to Santiago of the Season. That's how I got that one. But I kind of knew the creator, Nicky Lopez, a little bit already. And then from there, and then Netflix, and then after Netflix, I think I ended up going to work for Reese Witherspoon's company, Hello Sunshine.
Really?
Yeah, they were starting up an animation division over there, and I was gonna work on their first animated series over there. It's untitled, so I can't say the name of it, but it ended up falling through. Like, we were making it for a streaming service. Still can't say which one, but I'm sure you can guess. There's only one giant at the time. But that ended up falling through. And then I was unemployed, actually, for like maybe a year. Or not a year, maybe like a month or so. And I was at a crossroads because I remember kind of getting out of a relationship at the same time, too.
I seen it, man. I watched it happen. I was going to hit you up. I was like, hey, what happened, man? Look at like perfect couple.
I know, right?
What happened? Everything was beautiful. You guys were taking pictures and food and all this and that.
That's when you know it's real, right? When you're taking pictures of food together.
You know what's crazy about me? I can tell when a breakup happens just by one post. I was like, oh, damn, James broke up. I know. I could see it.
What was it? Like, I'm holding on. Like,
you said something like barely emotional. I was like, that's not like him. Something happened right here. Like, right. I'm good at that shit.
You got good EQ. That's emotional intelligence.
Did turbulence from a relationship throw you off?
It did. It was very, because I had a lot of my identity in a relationship too. Something you ain't supposed to do, by the way. But if you want to talk about that stuff later, we can. But I had a lot of identity wrapped into that, and I had a lot of my identity wrapped into just being a producer. So when I lost those two things, I was at a crossroads where I was like, okay, what am I going to do? First of all, I need money too. But also I need purpose. So I just kept applying. I ended up getting like an offer from a studio in Ireland. I was thinking about moving to Ireland just to work. But then I ended up hearing from Bento Box They made Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
And they got bought by Fox. And I think they were just coming off of this Fox deal too, so they had money to hire people. And then, so I ended up getting an offer to work on Wolfboy in the Everything Factory. So it's a mouthful of a name, but it's very heartfelt show about this boy being an outsider. And he ends up, how can I summarize this? He ends up meeting like these fantastical creatures who make the things in the world. They make good things and bad things, I think. And Lord, I hope I'm not butchering this. but I ended up working on this show, and we made it for Apple, man. And it was
cool.
I was a production manager for their post department for 6 months.
So it was like what, 2021-ish around there, 2020?
Around 2021-ish, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because that's about the time that I started noticing those pictures and shit. Sorry,
that's so funny. No,
but so you're working. You make this for Apple.
Yeah, I made that for Apple, and that taught me like that was a 2D production too, and that taught me a lot about post and retakes. Because it's funny how my career worked out because my whole goal was to become the most well-rounded animation producer. So there was always gaps in my knowledge. And one of the gaps in my knowledge before Wolfboy was like, I didn't know how post-production worked, really. Like I saw glimpses, but I kept leaving productions too early to get to that point. So I got a crash course in post-production. And my job at that time was they had all of these retakes, and my job was to figure out how to delegate between overseas studios and like our retakes department internally and stuff.
What's a retakes department?
Oh, like some productions have internal retake departments, like which is just like if you're working in Toon Boom Harmony, that's like the standard 2D animation software. Like you have the animation being done overseas. But if you want to do quick fixes in-house, then you'll have animators on staff.
Wait, so Toon Boom is an actual like application that like Hollywood level uses?
I love this conversation because people need to know these things. Yeah, like so that's the premier 2D animation software at this time.
I thought that they made that for like a layman to be able to animate.
Well, it's funny because Toon Boom, they have Storyboard Pro, which is just for storyboarding, and they got that subset in their company. But then they have the actual animation software too.
Yeah, but I thought when the public could actually use it, because I remember getting Toon Boom, and I remember like, oh, they just made it easy for us to do this that like don't know shit, but like to use it at the Hollywood level, it's just
really?
I didn't know
you
that.
Know something I don't know.
What, Toon Boom?
You know that it was used for just kind of like for every like kind of like fundamental use.
I remember it was like something where when people were it was accessible for just like a normal customer to buy it. That it was like, it seemed like it was just available to people to learn. Like Fruity Loops is for music, right? Like how it's kind of like the entry level, but like still professionally used. I didn't know Toon Boom actually translated to Hollywood.
Dude, okay, so you know that part of it then. I didn't realize that. When I came into the business, even at Pinky Malinky time around 2015, 2016, like I came in and they were using Toon Boom Storyboard Pro just as a standard, like in the industry, storyboard artists. So I thought that, I was like, what is Toon Boom? Like, okay, all I know is I need to export this when the storyboard artist done so that they can act it out in our meetings, I think. So, yeah, that is the premier software right now. Wow. You know, it could change, if this interview lives on.
So talk to us about 21 to 22. Like, what's the phase at that point?
Yeah, after Wolfboy premiere and stuff like that. And then I ended up. What did I work on after that? I think that was right. Yeah, that was when I ended up getting the gig on Merry Little Batman as an associate producer.
Cool.
And that was so surprising because I planned on being a production manager a few more years before I like entered producer territory. But I did the interview with my the producer on Merry Little Batman, Rebecca Palatnik, and she I think they saw something in me, man, like when I interviewed, and because I think I even remember saying, like, I'll be a production manager, but then when I got the offer, it was like, no, we gonna make you an associate producer. And I was like, okay. and that was the first time. It's funny. That was the first time I had a title where I noticed the perception of me was different to people. I think because I was still walking around thinking people saw me as like a coordinator and they would interact with me that way. But it was like the first time that I saw like people going like kind of.
He's the associate producer.
Yeah, like that kind of vibe.
Like power, like you feel power kind of like type thing. Even though you're not the type of person to like abuse or like, mistreat or do anything with that, like that would be negative impact.
Right.
People looked at you that way, like he has power, like get close to this guy, like type thing.
Yeah, and it could be, it could be easy like that. Like somebody, you just have to let people know, like, hey, you can trust me, like I'm here to like support you and stuff like that. But you also see the other side of it where it's like, you're a part of like a bigger structure, and if people have frustrations, then those frustrations can be directed at you, but you shouldn't take it personal, right? You're just you're the person that they go to, and so that was something that I had to like figure out mentally. Right. In my head.
Like kind of separating what needs to be done versus your emotions and how you feel about what's happening.
That's well said. Yeah. And
it's hard. When you're doing any type of production, like obviously egos and behavior and everything can impact your your mental state. And then you have to learn like, this is a part of the process in creating what we need to create. Mm-hmm. And, that's what Hollywood's all about. Like, Hollywood's all about, like, knowing that the production needs to be done regardless of how you're feeling at that moment. It needs to be done the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, it's tough.
And you can't handle it. Like, even rap, like, I review music and, I'm involved in the rap industry.
I love when you do that, yes.
And when people get so offended or affected by what I have to say, it's like you don't belong in the entertainment industry if you can't handle people's opinions or what needs to be done in order to get something to happen.
Absolutely, because what you're doing is just, like, a taste of what they're going to get in the world if they blow up.
Yeah.
Even if they blow up.
What's been just for people because you're working in the Hollywood level, in my opinion, like you're at the heightened level of like, you're working for major companies.
Yeah.
You're part of these productions that are getting seen by the world and everything like that. Mm-hmm. What is the interactions like? Is it stressful? Is it strenuous? Does it become something where you are on the borderline of leaving it or anything like that? Or is it something where you know how to balance it within yourself?
Yeah, I'm definitely... most of the time there's pressure. Most of the time, right? But I've learned... And I've had moments in my career where I thought, I ain't doing this no more. Like, This is too much. I've had moments... But one thing that's helped me is trying to not only get right mentally, right, with realizing what's important in life and realizing, like you said, how to be objective about things. My lifestyle also helps. I try to work out every other day.
You're looking good, man.
Oh, thanks.
I seriously thought you were going to be skinny as hell when I seen you. Because you remember you were skinny when we met.
No, I was hella skinny.
You were Ethiopian skinny, son.
No,
you were like,
I needed a sandwich at the time. Yeah, that's
but
true.
Now, see, the arms are like pushing out. It's good.
Thanks.
Did the breakup motivate that?
No, it's really out of necessity, man. Because I knew the higher that I got in this industry, like I needed to learn how to deal with stress. Because it's always stressful.
What's your routine to handle yourself as far as physically and mentally?
Well, yeah, dang, that's a good question. I mean, for me, exercising is a big part of it, right? Like, I mean, I'm definitely a competitive guy. Like when I'm in the gym, like if I had a bad day or something happened to me, I ain't gonna lie, I'm thinking about it when I'm running like 5 miles. I think, and that helps me reconcile things though, and it also helps me put things in perspective, and I feel more confident when I'm coming out of the gym. Yeah, and I feel like I could take on anything after that. So it's always a good reset for me, right? But on the mental level, I just do a lot of reading too. Like I try to read things like The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and
what's that?
It's this book by Don Miguel Ruiz about the way that I categorize it is like 4 laws of like happiness. I can't remember all of them right now, but one of the things that stick out to me is like don't take things too personal, or when somebody is lashing out at you or something, for example, they probably just dealing with their own stuff or their own pain. Like So it gives you a lot of principles about like having empathy and stuff like that. So stuff like that has like helped me, I think, through life have like these mental checkpoints in the industry. And then also I go to therapy once a week too. So so that gives me perspective.
Did longer time throughout the industry make it where you had to go? You felt like therapy was necessary, or was it something you feel like you always needed just for whatever internal reasons?
Yeah, I love this conversation. I knew in hindsight, like if I was gonna try to progress in this career, that I should try to have some kind of foundation mentally, some kind of healthy foundation, because I understood like how easy it is to go astray. And then the therapy also came, actually it also came when I was like in my relationship. I was really like, at the time we were really trying to make it work. And I knew that in order to be like the best person in that relationship, that I should like figure out issues, right? That I was dealing with just from childhood too.
Yeah. That's an interesting conversation. Sometimes if you're in a relationship, you do wonder like, is it me and I have to get myself to my greatest peak of a performance as a person in order for this to work, or is this just not working? Like you have to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, and you can't figure that out until you do the work on yourself.
Yeah. My cousin gave me that advice a long time ago. It's like if you're ever indecisive about where you're at in a relationship, he's like, always make sure you get yourself to the peak version of yourself before you make a decision. If you make your decisions at the worst point in your life, it could be anything. You could be just angry, you could be upset, you could be overthinking, and then make a decision, which when you're basically unconsciously making decisions, you're probably going to make the wrong fucking decision most of the time, right?
Yeah,
so like to be aware of who you are, where you are, and that you're balanced before you make a serious decision. So your relationship and everything like that kind of pushed you towards making sure you keep your mental health straight.
Yep, that too. And then and also though, like it was just a deep desire to be the best human that I could be, right? Like I knew I wasn't right in certain areas mentally, like just from like trauma and whatever past things I was dealing with. But also I knew it would help me in business. You know, like I actually went to therapy too, just to learn how to have better empathy so that I could like be a better leader.
Right.
So it was serving two purposes. And I just wanted to be optimal.
Yeah, I just figure in your line of work, with all of the chaos and all the intensive work, dedication that you have to put into it, paying attention to yourself has to be a difficulty. Especially that not only when you're in these types of industries do you deal with the actual facilitation of production, but the after work of networking, being around these people, having to go to events, having to go to these meetings, having to do all these things that aren't even anything relevant towards the actual production or what you're supposed to be doing and what you desired to do. So it's like, when do you have time to think about yourself? When do you have time to like meditate, do yoga, exercise, think about what you really want out of life? So a therapist is going to help you balance that out and kind of give you like a good roadmap to like, all right, let's figure this out together, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You have to make the time for yourself, right? And I think that's what separates like the great leaders that you hear about. Some of them just toxic though, but the ones
like Andrew Tate or something like that.
Yeah, that dude, I don't really understand him, but I think if it's somebody like I know some people feel some type of way about Oprah, but one thing I think she's good at probably is managing her time. You know, and making sure that she makes time for herself mentally.
Yeah, for sure. You have to, especially in entertainment.
Especially in entertainment, because a lot of us in entertainment are like hurt. Like even when I started making shorts, it was coming from a place of need and validation, right? So I think it's very important for all of us in entertainment to get therapy or some kind.
Yeah, I'd never look at anybody in the entertainment industry or a creative. Just if you're a creative person, you have some type of insanity. Like, I don't care what the hell you're talking about. That's why we're creative, because my personal thing is my mind magnifies and multiplies every idea.
That's
so
cool.
Like if I look at something, it's like just like instantly I see everything the way it's supposed to be. My problem is discipline and shit like that. That's why I couldn't get as far as you got, because what you did takes fucking serious discipline to get to the levels, and they notice that anybody at these high levels are like, this guy's competent, disciplined, he's directional, like he knows where the hell he's going, he knows what he wants. Boom.
Thank you.
More so me, I'm like a whirlwind of like, oh, what the fuck's gonna happen today? And then just like, you know.
But you're in the right area of entertainment to do that though.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like I couldn't do what you doing. Like I'd be too like rigid and too like they'd be like, why are you just doing this one thing? You know?
Well, what's been for you in the whole scheme of your career? What's been the most gratifying moment for you collectively?
Like in this moment, because it's changed over the course of my...
Walk us through each moment that was the moment for you that was gratifying moments for you.
Yeah, so when I was early in my career, I think it was just seeing your name in the credits for the first time was like, oh my gosh, like I made it, like I'm here. And then, you know, that happens a bunch of times, and like anything that happens a bunch of times, it fades just a little. I still get a little bit of happiness though. Like seeing my name in the Batman movie is still trippy. But my priorities have shifted. And so I think the most gratifying experience for me now is like being able to like take my friends to like a rap party or something like that, or even just being able to watch the content with them and seeing their reactions. Like I did that with Merry Little Batman with Max and his girlfriend and some other friends, and that was gratifying.
That's cool.
So I think it's just that now. It's become so simple, you know?
Yeah.
It used to be crazy, though. I used to be like, why am I not popping bottles right now? What's happening? Like, that would be more gratifying.
What's like, since what, like 2016, where you're kind of getting officialized in the industry, like, or putting yourself in it, and now it's a 7-year process of getting to a point where you're associate producer for, a major production, right? So
yeah. It's actually been 15 years on this track. Like,
really?
You know, like, I've only been in the industry for 9 or 10.
Okay.
But I'm still counting the years before I even got in the industry when I was like, I need to do this. Like, you know.
Yeah. You put in the hard work, though, and you're at a position now where you feel like you're in control. Do you feel like you're in control now of, like, what the next move is going to be?
Nah, I still don't feel like I'm that in control. I think I feel like I have a better chance at walking through the doors of certain opportunities now because of like what I've done so far. But I don't know if I'll feel like I have control unless I can go somewhere and I can have immense influence over structural changes.
What type of structural changes?
Like my ultimate goal, like I would like to be like president of animation somewhere, right? And like have some kind of say at the table about like schedules, and maybe that's head of production, but like the schedule for different shows and projects that seem fair to me. Technology being implemented throughout productions that make employees' lives easier. If I had to say over like, I don't know, like placement of certain producers and stuff like that will help them be successful. Like those kind of things and those kind of influences, I think are what I'm after. And that's when I feel like I have some kind of control over like things that I care about.
You want to have oversight over everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The things that move the needle a little bit more.
Do you feel like with the productions that you have worked for that, or just in general, when you watch all your friends and everybody that's a part of it, do you feel like the culture and the environments are at the optimal state for people to be happy and for people to create the best productions possible? Do you think like the culture might need to shift a little bit?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, you know, the happiness of the state of productions in the industry fluctuates, right? Like anything. So like I don't think it's a destination. I think it goes up and down. The frequency of it being in a good state could be better though, I think. But I'm still trying to figure out what the cause of that is though, right? Like I don't know how much the economy plays on a company and allows a company to give the right amount of resources to their employees and stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure that out at a higher level though.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's really cool hearing your story, especially a lot of people when they first glimpse this, hearing that you're from Detroit.
Yeah.
You know, you took it from Detroit to Hollywood, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Who have you got to run across or anything in that particular nature for your career that might make people become inspired to the fact that you shook hands or got to be in rooms with certain people that people only dream of in your line of work?
So I'm trying to think of like some animation legends that may have been like on the same productions as me, but I can't think of them right now. But for some reason, when you were talking, I thought about Bruce Smith, creator of Proud Family. Like I met him at like there's this group called Black and Animated in the animation industry. They're getting pretty big, but they are very supportive of like minorities in animation, and they put on events and stuff. And Bruce Smith was there, and I met him and talked to him for a little bit, and he was like the nicest guy ever. So him, and then I'm trying to think who else that people might know of remotely of their work. And I'm also thinking of the demographic that watched this. I think. But I think he's the only one so far that I've come across, you know, that would be somewhat known.
That's cool. I think, it's an industry, especially with the Tubi blowing up and all these things blowing up and all these platforms blowing up that are trying, you know, they're baby versions of Netflix and what Netflix has become and everything like that.
Never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's like they're all trying to get to that. I think people didn't believe Netflix was going to work at first. I think everybody shot the idea down like, that's not going to fucking work.
I do remember that when they was mailing the DVDs.
Yeah.
People were like, what is this?
Now I heard they're getting video games into their system. So they're doing everything. They're being very innovative and everything like that. So it is the biggest platform to watch shit right now. Like literally is, and you're a part of that, which is insane. And you created, you helped be a part of a production that's really being very widely seen right now, which is awesome. I already know you're going to be able to get wherever you want to get to. But creating do you have a name for your potential company that you're thinking about one day? You know,
I think if I'm going to do it, it's going to have to be within a company that's already established. I think so. But we'll see. I mean, I'm thinking about the idea of making my own company, but I don't want to say that just yet. I think because I never really thought that I was a good entrepreneur. I always thought like I was a good exec, though.
For sure.
You know, so that's why I think I would have to come into a structure that's already made and just make it a little bit better.
They just give you control, like this is yours.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there any projects or anything you want to promote right
now? Sure. I mean, okay, it feels kind of cheap if I talk about productions that I've already done and they're still on Apple and Netflix. So, I mean, the first thing I'll say is definitely watch Merry Little Batman if you can. I don't know when this is going up, but
like this week.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
This is amazing. You are the hardest working man in show business. But so Merry Little Batman for the holidays, of course. It came out December 8th, but you can watch it on Prime Video. And then I think We Lost Our Human is still on Netflix. Check that out if you get a chance. That was created by Chris Garbett and Ricky Absjorn. Hopefully I pronounced her last name correctly. And then Wolfboy and the Everything Factory by Toph Masery. I think that's still on Apple. And, you know, if you see Cleopatra in Space on Peacock, I think that's on Peacock. Pinky Malinky on Netflix. That's crazy. I think you can watch most of the things I've been on out there. Santiago of the Seas, I think, is still on cable. So just all of that stuff, really, but definitely Merry Little Batman because it just finished.
For sure. I appreciate you being a part of this, James Mosley. Good friend.
That's
man.
it?
What?
That was it?
What?
That's the end of the interview?
That was an hour.
Oh, my gosh. It did not feel like an hour.
Wait, 1 second. Let me see.
That's so crazy.
Is there anything you really wanted to touch on before we close out?
It probably seems like that because of my reaction. But I think that is great. And I appreciate. I just want to say, like, I'm so proud of you, man.
Oh shit!
I like. It's incredible to see that you paved your own way, And sometimes I see like discouraging comments and stuff to you, and hopefully you're not listening to that.
Hell no.
Good, because
Nah.
I really think you got something here.
I appreciate it. We've always believed in each other since the beginning. We have. We always believed in each other. We always knew we were going to figure out what we were going to do, even though it wasn't music videos and whatnot. Something we both had to go through that bullshit to understand the bigger picture, but we both started it. I do want you coming back, obviously.
Absolutely.
I know this feels like it was a nutshell kind of update of what's happening in the James Mosley world, but I want to get you back on again for sure. Like, you
Dude,
know,
totally.
yeah.
Because I would love to talk a little bit more about what a production assistant and coordinators do, because like I get questions all the time about that, and I know there's not a lot of like black figures talking about that. So yeah, next time.
I'm going to get you back on as media. I know when is the next time you're flying in here?
Oh, who knows? I think I'd try to come here once a year.
Once a year?
I know. My mom's like, yeah, once a year. Like, yeah.
Well, next time you come back, I'm going to make sure we're going to have more of an expansive talk, man. I know it's been about an hour, but I didn't want to talk to you for longer, but you know how shit works around
I
here.
understand. You on a schedule, too.
Yeah, schedule stuff. But
This
I
is great.
appreciate you being a part of this, man. I look forward to seeing it. Merry Little Batman's out now. Everybody go check that out. We're at Parallel Sound Studio, High Low Visuals, Shootings Productions. We're out.